My Very Last Life, Chapter 38, My Holy Grail. Okay, so I've been thinking the whole time about, what to do with the last 20 years of my life, right? This is the last chance, the last ditch effort, the Hail Mary pass, which in German is something like Flucht nach vorn. It's the attack, the retreat forward. It's the last ditch effort that you make in kind of an aggressive forward movement, but it's actually retreat. It's a Hail Mary pass. So this is my Hail Mary pass. The last 20 years of my life. Making something out of it, and the whole last year since I turned 60 and then 61. I'm 61 now. I spent thinking about what to do with the last 20 years of my life, and I know more or less what I have to do. I've come to some conclusions. It's something that I cannot achieve, I think, now. So I have to revise a lot of the conclusions that I've been making. I'm learning now that I've bitten off once again more than I can chew, and I everything is so diffuse and confused that I cannot reach the goals I've set myself to achieve, and so I have to reduce them to one goal that I think I can achieve. But that's not what I'm trying to talk about. That's over on one side, and I've been concentrating on this. I've been thinking again and again and again, day in, day out, about what to do with this last chance. How to make this last chance count for everything I failed and did wrong before, and I come up with variations of what I did before, and this time I'm going to do it right. But of course, it's still the same thing. It's it's the cliche definition of craziness, of insanity. It's the guy doing the same thing again and again, hoping that the result will be different. And that's basically what I'm doing with this last 20 years of my life. But then I realized this week, and I don't know what triggered it. I don't know why I thought that, but I realized this week that everything I'm pointed towards, the goal I've been pointed towards all my life, that I'm striving for all my life, is probably not the actual goal that I should be striving for. I've been blind to what is really important, I think. And probably as a human being, and I don't know why I realized this week, it's, of course, the relationship. It's love. It's some kind of human relationship. One, and this is the word, this is the phrase, the three words that came to my mind that I realized this is what I have to do in the last 20 years of my life. This is it. That's actually it. All that stuff, the bucket list I made, all that little crappy stuff I thought about. This is what I want to do. This is my ambition for the last part of my life. All that bullshit, basically what it comes down to is this, that's all bullshit. And what I really have to do to justify my life, to make my life worthwhile, to make a life worth living, any life worth living, is this one thing that I've never been able to do and never done well and never really wanted to do, which is one meaningful relationship. One meaningful relationship. See, the problem with that is it's like the one thing I can't do. It's the one thing I'm really, really bad at. I'm worse at this than at everything else, and I'm bad at a lot of things. I got there's a huge list of things I'm really terrible at, and this is the worst thing. One meaningful relationship. I'm not built for this. Meaningful relationships I have avoided all my life. I think I've consciously avoided them. I think I've avoided them because I've been well, that's probably not true. Okay, what I was trying to say was I've avoided them because I think that they would hurt. So I never had children because I imagined this thing where I fuck up raising a child when I'm not good enough as a father to raise the child. I financially I cannot support the child. I'm in all ways I'm not an emotional or experienced father. I can't fix the dripping faucet, and I cannot help my son deal with the bullies at school. I don't know what to do. I would not know how to do children, and so I avoided it, and I avoided everything that would get me into the situation. Not everything, of course you can't, but I've tried to avoid everything that would get into the situation that I would not know what to do, would not be able to succeed in that situation. And I've succeeded in a lot of ways of getting out of that situation. And children is one of them, of course. And a meaningful relationship is probably the other one. I've had plenty of relationships. I was married at 23, and I read a lot of books to prepare myself for that marriage. I took it seriously. I'm in a relationship now. I've been in a relationship now for like 20 years or something. And I don't know if we are close or not. I think I chose her and she chose me because we both have a problem with actual intimacy. We don't think we do. We are once in a while intimate, but the actual human, I don't know. I don't know what it, I think I don't know, and probably she doesn't know what it is to be actually human. It's one meaningful relationship. I failed with so many relationships. I failed with my sister when she was taken with me. When I left her, I think I left her before she was taken with me. I left her because I knew that to go out on my own and to gain the ambitions that I had, ambitions which now I think are probably an excuse for not having actual relationships, for not being able to do that, an excuse for not being an actual human being. I realized that in order to achieve these relationships, I would not. I could not do it with a real relationship in my family. Or maybe I thought I wanted to grow up, and I had to do that. I had to leave behind my family to do that. And so the one relationship, I think, to my little sister, I think that was probably the one relationship. I blew that and left it behind. Did I have a relationship with my father and my mother? I don't think so. I remember the times that we were close or the times that we talked as exceptions to the rule. I remember talking kind of like a heart-to-heart talk, a heartfelt talk, a real emotional talk with my mother maybe 2 or 3 times. One was when I was fired. The first time when I went out of high school, my goal was to, run off, either to run off to New York and be a writer, or to go on a mission and be a good person. That was the big decision of my life, whether to be a writer or a good person. And I made the wrong decision. I decided to be a good person, and I went off on a mission and did what God wanted me to do. And I think that was a mistake. But in order to finance either one of those. Both of them needed money. So I got, after graduating from high school, I got the only job I could, which was a job in a little factory making tourist stuff. Making stuff for tourists, which was there were like cardboard boxes, and I had to paste seashells on the outside of the boxes, and they would have these boxes, these cheap boxes with seashells pasted on the outside, and they would sell them to tourists in Waikiki, and and they were just cheap, crappy, and so and I went in, and I'm. I was going to college, right? Studying literature. So I wanted to be an intellectual. I was a writer. I'd written my first little novel, which was horrible, but still, I finished it. It was a novel, right? And so I'm a writer, and I'm some kind of intellectual. And some kind of, in this, and here I was literally gluing seashells onto little jewelry boxes for tourists, for cheap, crappy, stuff. And all my other coworkers were like, Filipinos who would drop out of high school, and many of them women, of course, who never had the consciousness that they would have to earn more than a certain amount of money to support their family. They were, they were thinking, I'm going to be married to some guy, and because I'm beautiful, he's going to be rich, and I don't have to, have any good job or any good education. And so that was the guys I was talking with. It was, working class guys, and it's the first time I realized that I'm not working class, even though I was not educated enough to get an actual job above the working class. So there is that kind of that weird conundrum of where you are in like the the bourgeoisie, you are in the middle class, and you have an education, but if you don't finish that education, you're not even good enough for the working class, because you can't even do that. I could not even paste these shells on jewelry boxes, and I was too bored. It was too bored. I kept, and when someone wasn't looking, I would sneak out my Conan novel and read another page of my Conan novel, trying to, in this factory where I was supposed to be pasting shells on jewelry box, and then, to no one's surprise but my own, I was surprised. I was shocked. After 2 weeks or even 1 week, I don't know how long it was. Maybe it was a month. It seemed like forever, frankly, but probably it was just a week. It did seem like forever, though. Man, it was just those endless days. It was endless. I could not stay awake. And it was so one shell after the other on these stupid boxes. Oh, my God. That was just hell. And it was, I don't know how long I took it up, and how long I lasted. It was probably just a week, but it seemed like forever. So at the end of the week, at the end of whatever, some Friday, at the end of the month or whatever, I was called into the office, and the guy, or I think the woman said, sorry, this is not a job for you, Eric. We're going to have to let you go. And so they fired me. They fired me. They were nice about it, but they fired me. And of course, if I had any sense in the world, I would have looked at myself. This, white guy, this haole guy. Haole is Hawaiian for white. White guy in a factory of Filipino, uneducated Hollywood, high school dropouts. This was not, even if I were good at gluing shells on boxes, even if I could do the job. They still would have realized, this guy is just, what is this guy doing here? We shouldn't even be paying. It's like is he, I don't know, is he slumming? He's this haole guy. What the fuck is he doing here? And even now, looking back, I'm embarrassed that I even that I didn't have enough sense to do something else, that I was so lost and such an idiot, so not understanding about how the world works, that I just looked in the paper and did got called any job wanted ad that did not have any qualifications, and I ended up really in a job that had no qualifications that I was not qualified for. It amazes me that I was so naive and stupid. I just did not understand the world at all. I still don't, I guess, but back then it was like nothing. I got nothing about it. I understood not even what was in front of my face. And so they fired me, and I'm sure the first 5 minutes I was saying, fuck it, I don't need this job anyway, it's a stupid job. Good that they fired me. But then by the time I got home, I was crying. I was just crying. I locked myself in my room. I got on the covers and I just cried. And, at some point my mother came in, and tried to comfort me and said, what was wrong? I don't want to talk about it. I was 19 years old. I was, basically a man. In the Middle Ages, I would have been a man. I could have been, 19 years old. I would have had grandchildren, and I was just, this kid, fuck. Oh, I'm so embarrassed about my life. What just a waste. A waste. So I cried and sobbed, and I had a real, actual discussion with my mother. And I guess she knew. I told her for the first time who I am. Oh, I'm a loser. And of course she knew. And that evening or the next day or something, she and Dad said, why don't you... I had not. I don't believe... as far as the chronology goes, I don't think I had written my first novel then. He said, and I told him about my plans to, I was going off to New York and write my novel. And he said, okay, you can stay at home, free of charge, right? You're 19, but you should be outside, but you can still live at home and we'll feed you for 1 year and you write that novel. Okay, so you don't have to get a job, you don't have to work, you write that, you sit at home and write the novel. And I did it in that 1 year. And then after that year I went on a mission for the church, of course. In that year I wrote that novel. It's a fantasy novel. I still have it here. The manuscript, my first wife, my only wife, my ex-wife, bound it, had it bound, the manuscript bound. I sent it to her because I thought it was genius, and she had it bound after the mission. I sent it to her, and then she had it bound, and the title is That Towers Remain. I'm telling you, that towers remain. I don't know if it's a good title now. I like the title then. It was mysterious. That towers remain. I don't know. It's about hope and about fear, whatever, and about crazy, weird, fantasy stories. So, and it's horrible, of course. But I stayed home and wrote that novel. And that was one of the maybe 2 or 3 times that I had a heart-to-heart, an emotional, an honest discussion with my mother, where I told her who I was. I let her know. And, now I look back and I wonder, is that normal? Is it normal for young men to only have 2 or 3 discussions with their parents in which they are honest and tell them who they are? Is it normal for young men or women to look at their parents as kind of like strangers, as think of themselves as guests in a home of someone else, have that wall between you and whoever? I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm just fantasizing that other people have actual, honest, emotional, intimate, relationships to, like, their parents and their brothers and sisters and their friends and their mates, and they have friends that they have for a lifetime, and they know, have some kind of intimate relationship with them, maybe that's an illusion. Maybe that doesn't happen. Maybe everyone is like me and does not have these relationships. But I'm looking back and I'm thinking, nah, the way I have relationships or don't have them or avoid them, the way I could only have an honest discussion with my parents when I was, further down below downness of the down, Tom Waits down, been fired from a job that I was too good for, being fired. I could not even glue the shells to the side of the box. That's how I was that bad. That's low. Do other people wait for those opportunities to have a relationship with intimate discussion, to reveal themselves to their parents? Do other people go through life having, per significant other, parents, brothers and sisters, wives, spouses, good friends, only having with them per good friend, per meaningful relationship, only 3 intimate, true discussions? Is that normal? Or is that just me? I don't know. Maybe it isn't. Maybe I'm normal. Maybe this is normal. But I look back on my life and I do not see meaningful relationships. I see that I failed at most relationships. I see that I have failed with my parents. I was strangers to them, and it's not their fault. Maybe it was their fault. But no, I could have changed that if I wanted to. They were there. They didn't tell me to go away when I wanted to. The 2 or 3 times that I had an intimate discussion with them, they didn't say, "Oh, this is embarrassing. This is awkward, Eric. We don't have. Why don't we? We don't do this." No, they were there. It was me who did not have intimate discussions with other people. Intimate, honest discussions without, like I'm doing now, thinking about how this will come across if it were a podcast. How this would come across to other people if they were listening. I think I failed at basically all relationships in my life. And looking even at recent relationships, friends now, I have 2 or 3 friends who are friends. I see them as friends, but we're not close, and I don't think it's their fault. I think it's because I don't know how to do it. And we, every once in a while we're together and we're just together. We, we're walking through the woods. We're walking down the street. We have a walk. We're drinking a beer together or something, where we're having a pizza together and we're just together alone. Right. So this is the moment where we're supposed to have some kind of, bonding moment. And I don't do that. It makes me nervous. It's a source of stress. It frightens me, and I get nervous, and I talk, like a politician, and it's not good. And I failed with my friends, and I failed with people who could be friends or may want to be friends or are potential friends. I failed, I think, with my niece, who I really love here in Berlin, but we do not have a close relationship. I would like to. She would like to, probably. My grandniece, her daughter, I would love to have like a fatherly, uncle-ish relationship with her, but I just not, I'm not the guy for it. I don't know what to do with her. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to, there a time when before Corona, there was an English language movie theater here in Berlin, and we would go every once in a while, once a month or once every 2 months maybe. I would call her up and say, let's go to the movies, and she liked to go to the movies, so we'd go to some kids movie, and it was a great, and I would buy her, pizza or ice cream or something. It was great, and we would just, and that was something, right? And it was something I could do. I can go to a movie, I can buy a pizza or an ice cream, and like with friends, when I invite friends, I try to make a conscious effort to make friends with friends, to be some of my friends. And what I can do, I can't be, personal or myself with them, but I can cook for them. So I can cook like a schnitzel, or I get a whiskey and put whiskey on the table, and a schnitzel, and like a potato salad or a mac and cheese, and I can do that. And then they eat that, and they get fat, and they wallow in it, and we get ourselves drunk, but it's all I can do. But it's kind of like a substitute for any kind of real, actual, human relationship, a meaningful relationship. And I mean, maybe that's okay. Maybe that's the way normal people are. But I don't think so. It's not meaningful. It seems like it's not like I've been avoiding meaningful relationships. One meaningful relationship. If I could make, before I die, have one meaningful relationship. One meaningful relationship, like even to a woman, my girlfriend. Do I have a meaningful relationship? I don't know. I think I'm standoffish, and I think I've chosen women who are standoffish and who are just like me, who get close to the the realm of intimacy, but do not go through that door. And sometimes I worry, and constantly the whole time, and the whole time parallel to all this, I'm thinking also about losing weight, getting down to my ideal weight, and I've failed, I've dropped the ball in the last month or so, or 2 months. And I've been binging and eating. I've been binging alcohol. I had phases of, I can more or less, rein in my eating and drinking, like, during the week, Monday to maybe Thursday, Friday, and then I just binge. And I ate today so much cake and ice cream and crap, so much crap today, and drinking also, and I just one after the other, and it's just. And when I drink, then I binge. I find it easier not to drink anything or not to eat anything, to fast the whole day and to suffer from it. I find it easier to suffer fasting and not eating than to eat a little bit and enjoy it and then say, oh, that's enough. Eric, you've had enough. That's, you've had this little piece of cake. You've had half a piece of cake. You've had, half a schnitzel. That's enough. That's enough carbs. You don't need more. Of course I don't need. I know I don't need more, but I want, and I cannot do it. I cannot stop it. I binge. And I tell myself, and there's this rhetoric. It's like a TV rhetoric. It's like invented by a TV writer. I binge because I'm trying to fill the emptiness inside me. And I think a lot about that phrase because I do binge. I binge alcohol and I binge food, fatty foods. When I do it all the way. I do not stop drinking until not until I fall over. I mean, it's not that bad, but I binge. And I wonder why that is. This phrase, I like this phrase. I don't trust it. I like it, but I don't trust it. You're binging because you're trying to fill the emptiness inside you, which you cannot fill. Okay, good. Okay, so there's an emptiness. There is an emptiness inside. There's probably, sorry, yawning. There's probably an emptiness in everyone. So it's not just me, but I think that's probably the normal state of humankind. But this phrase, I'm drinking or eating to fill the emptiness inside of me. I wonder if that's actually true in some kind of psychological way, or if it's just kind of a thing you say, if it's a rhetoric, if it's a metaphor. Because as a writer, I know you can write things that have nothing to do with the truth, but within the framework of the story, there is a truth to it, but it's not actually true. It makes sense. It motivates the character. It makes some kind of sense, and you say, oh, that's why. But in fact, it's not necessary. It has nothing to do with truth. And so this thing, I binge. I binge to fill I eat too much to fill the emptiness inside me. Is that true? Is that psychologically why I binge, or is it a metaphor? Is it a writerly metaphor? Is it something that sounds good when you write it, but it's not necessarily true? I mean, I'm no psychologist, and even psychologists, what do they know? They don't actually know as much as they think they know. You know, what human life is. It's like this darkness, this weird thing that we keep thinking what is it? Who am I? What is life all about? But we don't know. We go through and we don't know. It's like, and being a writer, you know, you're successful when you write something that sounds good. But in the end, you don't know if it's true. It sounds true. You know, when you read it, you say, oh, that makes sense. You know, and it sounds true. Even if it's like paradoxical, you can write a sentence that eats itself, that's paradoxical, that turns around, starts out in one way, turns around and eats itself, you know, and it's complete nonsense. It's paradox. It's impossible. You can write impossible sentences. You know, the snake eats its own tail until it disappears. That's impossible. It's not possible. But the snake eating its own tail as an image, as a sentence, as a sculpture, as a, you know, little brass, you know, thing that you wear on your, if you're a Viking, you know, a brooch that you wear on your cape to hold your cape to your tunic when you're a Viking. You know, the snake that devours itself. It's impossible, but it makes sense in a metaphorical sense because the sentence sounds good. So you've written a sentence that sounds good, and as a metaphor, it makes sense. But in fact, it's bullshit. And so, is there any truth to it at all? Or is it just something that, as a sentence, is interesting? And as a writer, that's the thing that you're faced with. You know, everything you write, you know, we writers are not especially intelligent. We're just some idiots who know how to turn a phrase because that's all we've been reading books all our lives, escaping from the real world into the fantasy world of books. And so all we know is the fantasy world of books and how to turn a phrase. And so we can turn a phrase, and turn a phrase, you know, the dragon, the snake that devours itself, the serpent that devours itself. It sounds deep, but is it deep? Does it make sense? Has it anything to do with our lives at all? Or is it just some kind of bullshit that you're entertaining yourself with? And writing is like shooting hoops where the hoop is in darkness and there's no backboard. It's like you throw the basketball at the hoop and it's in complete darkness. You cannot see. You see the movement. You see the ball when it leaves your hand and goes into darkness, but once it hits the darkness, it disappears. It's gone, and you don't know whether it hits the hoop or not. And the backboard is gone, so it doesn't bounce against the backboard and bounce back to you if you miss, right? So the bouncing back, you never get. So you don't know. You're just throwing the balls at the hoops, and maybe some balls get through the hoops and others just fall short or go over the you know, beyond the hoop, and they disappear into the blackness. And you don't know. How many lines have you written that hit truth like a dart hits a bullseye? You know, that are true. That are actually true, that don't just sound true, that don't, in the moment you think, oh, that makes sense, because it's persuasive, because it's a metaphor, because it sounds good, it rhetorically sounds good. How many of those lines are actually true, actually say something about human life? Or how many of those lines just, you know, don't hit the hoop and they just disappear into the darkness, and you'll never know. You'll never know how many of your lines get through that hoop. That's it, folks. And thanks for listening. Tune in again next week or tomorrow or whenever it is I do this again. Whatever, I don't know.
If you're interested in the things that are really important to me, I write them in books and I put them on videos. Check out my books on Amazon.com or my YouTube channel or my Twitter and Facebook feeds, or subscribe to my newsletter. That's kind of a lot now that I say it like that. Or any of the above, whatever. I hope I can contribute something to your life, or to someone's life, anyone's life really, in some way. I appreciate your support, and I wish you all the luck and success and happiness and fulfillment in your life. Take care till next time.